Good morning,
Robert
sir.
Brownie's poem, Andrea del Sato. Hello, hello, hello.
Good
Yes,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Morning, sir.
Very good morning, all of you. Please read Andrea del Sato by Robert Browning. Hello, 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 hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yeah, Andrea del Sato. Can anyone of you read Andrea del Sato? Yes. Hello, hello, hello.
yes, sir.
Yeah, can anyone of you read the background of the poem? Hello, hello.
What is the page number, sir?
Yes, sir.
You check.
248.
Yeah, please start reading. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, very good morning. Start reading.
Andrea Del Sato.
Yeah.
Andrea Del Sato, one of the Robert Browning's celebrated, was published in 1895. Andrea Del Sato, when read alongside poems such as My Last Duchess, the Bishop Orders 60 Tom, establishes Browning as one of the finest poets to have used the dramatic monologue as a mode of literary expression. Browning was fascinated with the lines of Florentine painters. Besides writing about Andrea del Sarto, Browning also composed a dramatic monologue, Fra Lippo Lippi, which revolved around the life of the work of Filippo Lippi, a Carmelite monk who was also an artist. Andrea del Sarto was a Renaissance painter who was well known in Europe. He was a contemporary of Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Rapture. Andrea del Sarto is supposed to make the flawless. Hence, he called Andrea Senja error. That is flawless Andrea. And the famous of the most skilled artist of his day, who was respected and admired by on the
Yeah.
advice of the on the advice of Michelangelo and the painter Giulio he was highly critical of the pictures painting and deemed that they lacked soul. According to him, though Andrea had all the prerequisites of a great artist, he lacked the drive and the divine fire and inspired and influenced the works of his contemporaries, including Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael. Of agree with Vasari's views on Andrea del Sarto. Sir?
Yeah. So here, Andrea del Sarto was a poet and popularly known as an artist. And here, the historical background of this poem is representing Robert Browning's creativity and his way of looking at the dramatic monologues in the works of yet another historical figure, this time a Renaissance painter. So here you see the way how Andrea del Sarto's life from a biography of the painter that appears in Giorgio Vasari's Lives of the Painters. If you look at the way how it has this kind of historical background, and here the paintings are all flawless. During this period, he fell in love with Lucrezia del Fidi, the beautiful wife of a tradesman, who served as a model for a number of his pictures. He married her after her husband's death. In 1518, Andrea went to France to the court of Francis I at Fontainebleau at the invitation of the king. So here you see the way how he was infatuated and with that kind of artistic excellence. Here King Francis admired Andrea's work immensely and commissioned him to decorate the palace at Fontainebleau. Lucrezia, however, was not happy in France and urged her husband to return to Florence. Here, in Andrea del Sarto's personal life as well as in profession, he had this kind of background. Lucrezia, however, was not happy in France and urged her husband to return to Florence. Consequently, a year later, when King Francis entrusted him with money to buy works of art from Florence for the palace of Fontainebleau, Andrea returned to Florence. To please Lucrezia, Andrea built himself a house in that place with the king's money and did not dare to go back. He thus destroys the fame and goodwill he had earned with so much effort in King Francis' courts. He was never able to match the greatness of his renowned contemporaries like Raphael and Michelangelo, despite his perfect craftsmanship. So here, the way how this historical background is making sense of Robert Browning's interest in painting, and he wishes to explore that painting with the concerns of the human life. The form of the poem represents Browning's dramatic monologues addressed in the voice of yet another historical figure, that is this time a Renaissance painter. The poem uses pentameter blank, most of which is iambic. The verse expresses a kind of wavy motion with a rise and then an immediate fall, which is used skillfully by Browning to convey the speaker's unsettled and fluid mental disposition. So here, the way how the poet had tried to bring all these, whatever the historical backgrounds and the form of the poem, use of the language and its verse are all with this kind of background to say that how this poem is making sensuousness of our attention. Here, the style to capture the reflective and introspective mood of a defeated man, Browning employs small exclamations and asides to effectively give the impression of natural speech. So here you can see that Browning always tries to employ his technique into the poetic genius and the creativity. Browning dexterously uses language to communicate to the reader his interpretation of Andrea del Sarto's character. So we have seen My Lost Duchess, and here the painter's character, striking lack of color, activity, energy, and modifies yes throughout the poem. So here the poet had tried to cover multiple aspects of the character of Andrea del Sarto. Andrea is neither colorful nor vibrant and grey. Predominates his personality. He seems to lead a tired, empty, grey life, resigned to his failure. He lacks the energy and will to set things right, even though he is confident of his capabilities. Browning draws attention to the gloominess and dullness in Del Sarto's life by using the noun greyness, and then emphasizes it by using silvers as a verb. A common greyness silvers everything, all in a twilight, you and I alike. Here, Andrea says that all is in twilight, thus communicating the feeling of foreboding and despair that permeates his life. This imagery creates a dreary, lifeless, and sparse impression. It appears as though the colors in Andrea's life and in his art were inextricably linked. Thus, the absence of color in his life leads to the decline of his art. So here, when you look at the matching expression of Browning's use of the language, the thought-provoking idea is making sense of the personality crystal clearly, that whatever he had in his life was explored with this kind of language and the thematic concerns. Browning's language creates a sluggish and dull image. He uses words subtly to convey an impression of the uncertainty of the future. I might get up tomorrow. There is also a note of finality and impending doom. So here, the use of the language is generates that kind of dull image and sluggish, and the words subtly to convey an impression of the uncertainty of the future. So when you look at the use of the language in the poetic genius and the creativity of Browning, is making sense of that the way to interpret, interrogate, and analyze how he had tried to employ all these aspects with his use of language in its thought-provoking ideas. Here, the painter who had his personal life and professional, and then he wishes to be, with this kind of commitment, and then how he is had that kind of the uncertainty of the future. I might get up tomorrow. There is also a note of finality and impending doom. So like that here, Browning's Andrea del Sarto has been making sense of that historical background of a painter and a professionally, popularly known with his craftsmanship, and he had that kind of greatness in his life and his personal life with that kind of ups and downs. The form and the background are, making sense of Browning's artistic excellence in establishing the idea of the language, form, or expression, and the theme are with this kind of background. The setting of the poem is Andrea del Sarto's house in Florence, which he has built with the money stolen from the King of France. The painter recalls his past life and his career and laments that his love for his wife and her capricious behavior have restrained him from fulfilling his promise as an artist. Andrea is addressing his monologue to his wife Lucrezia. So here, when you look at the way how his personal life is with this kind of a compromise and that kind of lamentation, as and when he had this kind of touch of his profession and love for his wife, or with this kind of uh, addressing his monologue. And here, the very few lines of the poem reveals the kind of relationship that the painter has with his wife. But do not let us quarrel any more. No, my Lucrezia, bear with me for once. Sit down, and all shall happen as you wish. So he has been trying to appeal, his wife, that everything will happen. Just she has to wait for some time. The relationship is obviously acrimonious. It is also evident that Andrea is dominated by his wife. He tries to appease her by giving into all her demands. After this, Andrea invites his wife to sit hand in hand with him by the window and spend a quiet evening so that he may be rejuvenated to work again the next day. So here, the commitment of the profession, one side, the other side, love for wife, and then he wishes to hope for the future, and it may be sometimes uncertain. And here, the wife always tries to dominate in her nature, as well as here the painter Andrea Del Sarto wishes to recall the success and failures in his life as an artist. So as and when they sat together hand in hand, and the painter wishes to recall and share, as well as wishes to hope for the best for his next day. He feels that even though Raphael and Michelangelo referred in this poem as Michelangelo are more famous and inspired, his technique is superior. So like that here, the way how Andrea had tried to bring all these aspects into his whatever the personal as well as professional life, he manages. Hello, can you hear
Yes, sir.
me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So here, the way how he has been with this kind of profession and personal life, and when he had this kind of lamentation, and he manages to find faults in the works of these great painters, and he
Hello, sir.
Sir, not audible your voice. Hello, sir. Sir, are you there?
I'm there. Is it okay?
Not
Hello.
audible your
Oh,
voice.
okay now.
Yeah. That link, dropped. Okay, right. So here you look at Andrea Del Salto's personal life with all the psychological upheavals, and he has been trying to emerge as a popular poet, and he wishes to share his personal life with his wife, and he says that he had that kind of touch of the pain as well as the professional pleasure, and he never and ever compromises with his personal lamentation. He says that I am grown peaceful as old as age tonight. I regret little, I would change still less. Since there my past life lies, why alter it? So he questions here. So the past is past. It was already drawn check, and the future is waiting for him to make himself professionally fit. So the drawn check never and ever bothers him because he had that kind of commitment of his profession. So here the poem belies this kind of statement that the tone of regret, and it is as if he is ignores of his situation and thereby deceive himself. So here he has that kind of marriage with this kind of broken memories, and he says that it is a farce, and his wife loves another man whom Andrea refers to as Lucrezia's cousin, but obviously Andrea perceives him as competition because he asks, hey, but what does he, the cousin, what does he to please you more? So here, the way how you look at My Last Duchess, similarly with this Andrea Del Sato's personal life and professional commitment, and he had the kind of broken memories of bitter experience with his wife, but he had that kind of commitment, and she deceived her. Here Lucrezia fell in love with her cousin, and he questions her, what does he to please you more? He questions the cousin who is in love with his wife. So here Andrea is too weak to repudiate Lucrezia for this illicit relationship. Here he promises to tell his paintings and give her the money to pay for the same cousin's freak. So when you look at Andrea Del Sato's commitment and love for his wife, no matter of his paintings, he wishes to sell for his wife's pleasure and to console her, no matter of her deceiving nature, disloyalty. And here Andrea tells her eventually that he is satisfied with whatever little affection Lucrezia bestows on him, and this is sufficient for him. Yes, you loved me quite enough. It seems tonight this must suffice me here. So here, when you look at how Andrea Del Sato compromises with this kind of marriage, which is good for nothing, and the way how he has been trying to say about his professional commitment. So when you look at all these, then you can understand here he acknowledges that he alone is responsible for his deplorable plight because of his conscious act of retaining his wife. What would one have in heaven? Perhaps new chances, one more chance, 4 great walls in the New Jerusalem, mated on each side by the angels read for Leonard Raphael Anglo and me to cover the three first without a wife, while I have mine, so still they overcome because there is still Lucrezia as I choose. Here, the way how he had this kind of bitter experience because of his wife, and he compares with Michelangelo and Raphael that they do not have these lamentations, melancholy because of their wives. They are free from this kind of whatever their marriage and other things. But here he had, with this kind of marriage with a disloyal wife. Throughout the monologue, Andrea Del Sato struggles with his need for the love of his wife. He has been trying to, console himself to have love with his wife, and here, he is in desperately need of her company. Repeatedly requests her to spend time with him, and ironically seems to have a poor opinion of her character. He thinks that he can gain her love by giving her more money. So here, marriage, is with this kind of money relationship in Andrea Del Sato's life, so that he wishes to spend time and to give more money to Lucrezia, because he wishes to have that kind of pleasure with her and love. And here he says, and shut the money into this small hand. When next it takes mine, will it tenderly? If you would sit thus by me every night, I should work better. Do you comprehend? I mean that I should earn more, give you more, decide what is better and what is all I care about. Get you the 13th study for the rough. Love does that please you. So here you can see that how he wishes to console her, and how he wishes to show his love for his wife, as well as professional commitment, as and when he appeals to her with all these coaxcoming words and showing the money. Then he always tries to see that is whatever the profession depends on his wife for inspiration, and yet blames her for his failures. So here you see that how Andrea Del Sato has been trying to overcome the tragic flaw of his personal life because of his wife, and he wishes to overcome that with his wife's consolement and company, and he wishes to show his professional commitment. And here the poem illustrates his possessiveness over Lucrezia. My face, my moon, my everybody's moon. However, his character is a total contrast to the dangers and violent nature of the Duke of Ferrara's possessiveness in Browning's My Lost Duchess. So here, if you will compare with the My Lost Duchess and here Andrea Del Sato, you look at that how Duke of Ferrara, who had that kind of command over his duchess, but here it is unlike that. Andrea Del Sato ironically encourages his wife's liaison with her cousin, urging her to go my love. Here Andrea speaks confidently about his artistic skill, boasting about his superior talent. I do what many dream of all their lives, dream, strive to do, and agonize to do, and fail in doing. I could count 20 such, one twice your fingers, and not leave this town. He further claims that he is indifferent to criticism and praise of his art. I, painting from myself and to myself, know what I do, am unmoved by men's blame or their praise either. So here you can see that the way how he was with this kind of deeply rooted insecurity, and he is not able to impress his wife with his superior artistic achievement. So here the personality of Andrea Del Sato has been toned between his profession and his personal life because of the disloyalty of his wife Lucrezia. So here he cannot impress her with his superioristic artistic achievement, and he was deeply insecure because here he does not have any kind of thing to impress her. So here, is it the failure of a professional painter or what else? So here he berates her even as he tries to draw her attention to the public adulation he receives. You don't understand nor care to understand about my art, but you can hear at least when people speak. So here, when you look at the way how he has been trying to share his professional commitment and public interest about his painting, at least they speak about his art, and she can listen. Lucrezia can listen the public whatever says about the popular painter's artistic nature. So here, even his whatever the professional commitment disregarded, no matter, at least the public will speak about his painting. So he has that kind of confidence that definitely Lucrezia will listen to public about her husband's greatness as a painter. So when you look at the way how with this kind of profession of painting and how he wishes to have the company of his wife, he is torn between his art and his love for his wife. As I told you that Lucrezia is muse for inspiration. Why do I need you? What wife had Raphael or had Michelangelo? So here, when you look at... Hello? Yeah, can you hear me? So here, he has been trying to compare his professional commitment with other popular painters of the world. Raphael and Michelangelo do not have this kind of breaks in their life. They are professionally fit because of their commitment and the way they are away from this kind of whatever the personal failures. So here, this dramatic monologue is making sense of that, the way how the poet has been trying to refer all these aspects of his personal life as well as professional commitment and popularity. And here, the poem is with this kind of all these whatever the backgrounds of Andrea del Sarto. So here, when you look at this poem with this kind of background, then you can understand how Robert Browning has been trying to bring to the notice of the reader that marriage and gender relations in our society and how we should have that kind of human concern irrespective of gender or money or position or profession. So we have to realize that how one should build the human relations without any kind of all these material benefits. So here, the way how Andrea del Sarto is with this kind of whatever the background of the poet as well as the personal experience, and then how he had tried to show that kind of whatever the differences between the other poems and this one is a lack of dramatization of any person's actions. So if you look at My Last Duchess from one perspective, and then here you can see that the poem Andrea del Sarto is with this kind of other side of perspective to have the interpretation from different backgrounds. So with this, I wish to conclude this poem, and then we'll move to the another poem, that is what is the another poem? Next poem is Hello, hello.
Dover Beach.
Yeah, Dover Beach. We'll come to Dover Beach. Can anyone of you read Matthew Arnold's Dover Beach? Hello.
Arnold. Okay.
Yeah, please.
Background of the poem. Matthew Arnold began his career as a poet, winning early recognition as a student at the Rugby School where his father, Thomas Arnold, had earned national acclaim as a strict and innovative headmaster. Arnold also studied at Balliol College, Oxford University in 1844. After completing his undergraduate degree at Oxford, he returned to Rugby as a teacher of classics. After marrying in 1851, Arnold began work as a government school inspector, a grueling position which nonetheless afforded him the opportunity to travel throughout the England and the continent. Throughout his 35 years in this position, Arnold developed as an interest in education, an interest which fed into both his critical works and his poetry. Empedocles on Etna 1852 and Poems 1853 established Arnold's reputation as a poet, and in 1857 he was offered a position which he accepted and held until 1867 as professor of poetry at Oxford. Arnold became the first professor to lecture in English rather than Latin. During this time, Arnold wrote the bulk of his most famous critical works, Essays in Criticism and Culture and Anarchy, in which he sets forth ideas that greatly reflect the predominant values of the
Yeah.
Victorian era.
Yeah. So here, no, can anyone of you tell about the definition of Matthew Arnold's poetry? Definition of Matthew Arnold's about poetry.
Maybe its meaning, sir? Name?
No, here Matthew Arnold's definition of poetry.
Don't know, sir.
Yeah. So here Matthew Arnold says that poetry is nothing but criticism of our life. It interprets us, it sustains us, and it consoles us. So when you look at the poem is with this kind of criticism of our life. It interprets us, it sustains us, and it consoles us. The poem should, see with this kind of all the elements of criticism, and it should be this kind of sustain and consoling, and it should interpret. So here the background of Dover Beach is notable primarily for dealing with the most important issue during the Victorian era, namely the loss of faith. Arnold's grief at his own loss of faith is represented with subdued melancholic resignation. So here when you look at the Victorian age, is with this kind of loss of faith in religion, or that could be any kind of thing. So here the poem is an expression of the religious dilemma of the age. So when you look at the way how this Victorian age with this kind of dilemma, religious dilemma, and the people found themselves that contradiction in their religious life, and here they had that kind of faith in religion, and they failed to know what is religion and how they have to survive with this kind of blind belief. So as and when you look at the way how this background of this Victorian age is between that kind of contrast between science and religion. Here, if you look at Charles Lee's works on geology had established the time frame of the Earth, while Darwin's work in biology argued for natural selection. People who had until then believed that the Earth was only a few thousand years old, and that humans were the progeny of Adam and Eve, were now faced with the scientific data disproving their belief. So here when you look at the way how each and every age has been working with this kind of development of the science and technology, and here it will be a jolt to the religion. So like that the way how social upheavals and then the way to accept whatever the science and technology says. So like that here you can see that the faith of loss in religion because of the science and technology. And the poem begins with a description of a seaside night. The poet calls upon his beloved to share the beauty of the scene. However, the sounds of the grating roar of pebbles bring about sadness. So when you look at the poem with this kind of background, and then you can understand how the poet has been trying to share his views, and then whatever he had that kind of loss of faith in the religion and the other things. Here he is at seashore, and the way how he wishes to show is whatever the beauty of the scene of that seashore. And then here you look at how this is making sense of it's whatever the poet had the touch of that kind of beauty of the sea. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits on the French coast and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window. Sweet is the night air, only from the long line of strait where the sea meets the moon blanched and land. Listen, you hear the grating roar, the eternal note of sadness. So the beginning of the poem is with this kind of
Sir, we are unable to hear you, sir.
yeah. Now is it okay? Yeah. So here, the poem Dover Beach had this kind of touch of the, loss of faith in religion, and the poet has been trying to share the beauty of the scene with his beloved. And then you look at the sea is calm, is tonight, and then the tide is full, the moon lies fair. So like that, he has been trying to describe that the scene with this kind of ups and downs, and the waves are all with this kind of sadness. The way how he had this kind of first stanza, and the second stanza recalls Sophocles, who had expressed his ideas of the turbid ebb and flow of human misery in Antigone. So in our human life we have ups and downs. Similarly, if you look at the waves in see the way how that ups and downs are also with that kind of our human life. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. So the second stanza referred to as the sea of faith, a metaphor for a time when religion brought hope and faith. Arnold illustrates this by using an image of clothes. When religion was still intact, the world was dressed like the folds of a bright girl fold. Now that the faith is gone, the world lies there, stripped, naked and bleak. The vast dredges, drear and naked shingles of the world. So here in first and second stanza, as and when he is trying to say the waves of the sea and the ups and downs of human life compared, and then he says that whenever the society had the touch of the religion, and it has that kind of spirituality. Whenever it lost the faith in religion, then it became with that kind of whatever the naked and bleak. So here, the sea of faith was once too at the full and round earth shore, lay like the folds of a bright girl fold. As and when he says that whenever the loss of their faith in religion is making sense that it is nothing but that naked singles of the world. The final stanza shows the speaker and his beloved taking a pledge to be true to each other at a time when everything around them seems hostile. Hey, now let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy nor love nor light nor certitude nor peace nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. So here, the scenery, the beautiful scenery ahead of them seems just an illusion with the loss of religion and human values. So here, the poet, has been trying to say that how our human life with all these whatever the topsy-turvies, good and bad, and then the loss of faith and human values are all part of our society. But we should have that kind of true love, and we should have that kind of whatever the concerns of the human life with this kind of whatever the poet says that of the true love. So here the poem with this kind of whatever the pessimistic mood of the poem is set from the first stanza, where Arnold talks of the light on the French coast gleaming and then disappearing. It is a metaphor for religion, guiding force whose absence is now a certainty. Similarly, stanza 4 contains the series of denials, neither joy nor love nor light nor help for pain. Arnold drew a very nihilistic view of the world in which he lived. So here, when you look at the way how Arnold had the kind of touch of criticism of life, when you had a faith in religion, you are with that kind of pleasure, and when you lost, it is nothing but a jolt to the human values and the loss of faith of the religion. And then here he had used the sea as a metaphor. At first, it is beautiful to look at in the moonlight. Then it makes hostile sounds, grating roar, evoking a general feeling of sadness. So here, our human life was with this kind of beautiful nature of the sea. Whenever it is with the waves, then it shows that the general feeling of sadness of human life. So the third stanza is sea turned into the metaphoric sea of faith, a symbol of for a time when religion could still be experienced without the doubts brought about by progress and science. Now he faces a world devoid of any spiritual values, lacking in peace or certitude. So here, when you look at the way how the growth of science and technology, always tries to ignore religion, or to create logic in our life, that to know what is religion, and there will be loss of faith in religion. So here the poet has been trying to recreate in Lower Beach that how this melancholy, and in the world with this no faith, and the world with this kind of crisis of the existence, because here the poem also suggests that a successful relationship can help discover certain values not readily available in modern life. So here, when you look at the truth of whatever the human life, always with that kind of reality of whatever the human life, and here you may not find in modern life. So here the poet had tried to bring to the notice of the reader that we should have that kind of whatever the relationship with that kind of true, and as well as with that kind of human values. So here the poet has been trying to bring all these aspects into this poem, that how our society should have that kind of true as well as human life, human values. And in you can understand how the poet had tried to establish, re-establish, and recreating the kind of faith in human values. So with this, you can see that the Dover Beach is making sense of that beauty of the nature. And whenever it's with this kind of it's whatever the here the poet had tried to look at that Dover Beach with this kind of all these whatever the social, political, economical and cultural aspects, and then he had tried to re-establish the human values in the society, because the society with this kind of loss of faith will not have the peace. So he wishes to regenerate the peace among the people, that to have the faith in true relationship, to have the human values. So when you look at Dover Beach with this kind of whatever the background, then you can understand how Matthew Arnold had tried to touch each and every aspect of human life of that contemporary age. So here we'll come to the another poem, Scholar Gypsy. Hello, 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 hello. Yeah, so here we'll go for Scholar Gypsy now. Okay, so here shall I start Scholar Gypsy now? Hello, hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll start Scholar Gypsy. So here the background of the Scholar Gypsy is pastoral poem, is based upon an old legend related by Joseph Glanville in his
Sir,
Yes.
Sir, small request, sir.
Yes.
Sir, actually, for what is the central idea of this poem, sir, Dover Beach?
Yeah, here Matthew Arnold, as a poet who had that kind of touch of the religion, and then because of the science and technology, there was a loss of faith in religion. And here the society which does not have any kind of human values, and the failures of the whatever their religion, and then
Slowly, sir, sir. We are writing,
Yeah.
sir. We are writing the main points. Please say some slowly, sir.
Okay. So here the poem begins with a description of a seaside at night. Hello.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
The poem begins with a description of a seaside at night.
Okay, sir.
The poet calls upon his beloved to share the beauty of the scene. The poet calls, you can underline it also.
Okay, sir.
The poet calls upon his beloved to share the beauty of the scene.
Okay.
Okay, so here when you look at the stanza wise, then you can understand how the first stanza is the description of that sea, and as and when the poem suggests with this kind of whatever the flow of the water. And here you look at the human life in second stanza with the reference of the Sophocles. As and when you look at the first stanza with that kind of eternal note of sadness, when you look at the ups and downs of human life as well as waves in sea, are all making that kind of whatever the sadness of our human life. The poem is the metaphor of this sea is the metaphor throughout the poem. And here the metaphor for religion, guiding force whose absence is now as a central point. So here the poet always trying to say that how this Dover Beach is the representation of the human life as well as realization of loss of faith, and then to re-establish the faith in the society with this kind of realization that the human beings should know that to have the true as well as human values in their life. So here, when you look at the poem from the beginning to end, that he has been trying to remind us loss of faith of the religion does not mean that loss of human values. You can establish in the era of science and technology with human touch to have that kind of whatever the concerns of the humanity, and to have that kind of spiritual values. So when he had tried to look at the each and every stanza from this kind of whatever the loss of faith, then he wishes to establish the idea of the human life with the human values and regenerating the truth. So when you look at the last stanza, the land-sea conflict is of the present day. So the present day of the contemporary society is with this kind of identity crisis, loss of faith of religion, or that could be any kind of thing. And when you look at all these, then there is no peace. So how do you expect peace with this kind of human values? So here in this poem, the poet had tried to see that we should have that kind of human values and truth to say that the society, no matter of the loss of religious faith and then science and technology, we can see that kind of optimistic nature with this kind of whatever human concerns and human values. So here the poet had tried to look at each and every stanza from this kind of background, that we should have the concerns of the human values. So here when you look at each and every poem stanza, and then you can understand how he had tried to bring to the notice of the reader that to build up a human and moral implications. So here the way how all these aspects of this poem, Dover Beach, is making sense of the ground reality of that age, the way how Matthew Arnold looked at that society with this kind of loss of faith in religion. So when you go through each and every stanza, you understand how this poem is the re-establishment of the human values. So if you go through this, then you can understand the poetic genius and the creativity with this kind of consolement. As I told you that the criticism of our life, it interprets us, it sustains us, and it consoles us. So the poem here is nothing but criticism of our life. When you look at the religion, and then in of faith, and then science and technology, you will interpret it, and you will try to sustain, and you will console yourselves that to have the human values without the religion or science and technology. So here, as he told the definition of the poetry, and it is a reflection in this Dover Beach, that the first stanza to the last stanza of the concluding part is making sense of the definition of poetry by Matthew Arnold. So this is what you can understand how Matthew Arnold had tried to re-establish the human values and truth in the society. Okay, so please go through this, and then we'll come to the next poem, Scholar Gypsy. Can I start this one? Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, see here, the central theme of the poem is that to realize the human life, no matter of loss of faith of science and technology or religion, or that could be any kind of thing, but we should have that kind of human values. And then you can see that how here the poet had tried to establish and to express is whatever the poetic genius and the creativity with the criticism of our life. Okay, now we'll come to Scholar Gypsy. Okay, right. So here this Scholar Gypsy is a pastoral poem is based upon an old legend related by Joseph Glanville in his Vanity of Dogmatism, 1661, of a young student of Oxford who, forced by poverty, left the university and joined a band of wandering gypsies. The scholar is used by Arnold to depict the fate of his generation that suffers from this strange disease of modern man, with its sick hurry, its divided aim. So if you look at the modern age man with this identity crisis and whatever the failures. For instance, if you look at the way how the competitive world with this kind of whatever the competition, then you can see that modern man does not have peace. So here the scholar who is from the Oxford and who left because of his poverty, and then he joined in a wandering gypsies band, band of wandering gypsies. And here he Arnold used that a student from Oxford University, how he left his future with the academics, but he here because of the poverty. So here he had tried to bring that the modern age with this kind of difficulties of survival and topsy-turvies. So in the original work, the scholar had acquired the gypsies' reputed ability to influence other people's thoughts by the power of suggestion. Arnold, however, was more interested in the romance of the disaffected Oxford student, which recalled to him his own days at the university where he and his friends spent much time. So here, when you look at the way how academics versus performing arts, here the band of wandering gypsies are all performing arts. And the academic universities produce only certificate with that kind of education and qualification. And because of the poverty, the scholar left that university and joined as a musician in that band of wandering gypsies. So when you look at this kind of pastoral elegy with this kind of whatever the position that alienated our artist, the opening stanzas show the artist observing the world from an outsider's point of view. So here you can see that insiders and outsiders point of view here. In the first stanza, go for the they call shepherd from the hill, go shepherd and untie the wattled coats. No longer leave thy wistful flock unfed, nor the cropped grasses shoot another's head. The reader is immediately shown the mundane life the scholar gave up so that he could learn the secret of their art. When fully learned, will to the world impart. So here you can see that the dismissal of the university and then joining as an artist, musician in the band of wandering gypsies. So here for his survival, what he needs only money, not the certificates. And here it is a failure of that Oxford University education system. And here the scholar who had that kind of commitment of his life, and then here you can understand that to the scholar, then the gypsies world is not just an allurement but also a freedom from social restraint. Here where the reaper was at work of late, in this high field's dark corner where he leaves his coat, his basket and his earthen curse, and in the sun all morning burns the sheaves, here will I sit and wait with distant cries of reapers in the corn, all the live murmur of a summer's day. The poem progresses, showing the scholar in the rural areas exploring the world of his quest. The nature of the secret art is not revealed, but significantly the quest makes the scholar distant from all contact with humanity. So here you can see that how the poet had tried to establish that kind of a band of wandering gypsies, and the scholar who left the university and who wishes to seek this kind of whatever the worldly pleasure, and which is revealed with this kind of distant from all contact with humanity. Here although seen among people, the scholar's role has been reduced to the that of an observant spectator. Like a committed artist, he observes all details without involving himself while waiting for the spark from heaven to fall. So here you can see that the way how failures of the armchair scholars And here the scholar gypsy is making that the way to know the world and to survive with this whatever the freedom of life as a musician in a band of wandering gypsies. The blackbird picking forth the seas, the nor stops his meal, nor not fears at all. So often has he known the pastime stay, wrapped trilling in thy hand a wither's spray, and waiting for the spark from heaven to fall. Halfway through the elegy, the reader is aroused out of the beautiful setting and jolted back to reality. So here, when you look at the way how reader has been trying to draw the attention from that poem, the way how he had tried to bring that pastoral elegy with this kind of reality of the modern age. An educated man and who is in Oxford University, and who left because of his poverty and joined the band of wandering gypsies. And you can see that kind of elegy with this kind of description. But what I dream 200 years are flown since first thy story ran through Oxford halls, and the grave Granville did the tale inscribe, that thou wert wandered from the studious walls to learn strange arts and join a gypsy tribe, and thou from earth art gone long since, and in some quiet churchyard laid, some country nook, where over thy unknown grave tall grass and white flowering nettles wave under a dark red fruited your trees shade. Arnold now proceeds to glorify the scholar artist by comparing the idyllic setting of the preceding stanzas with the backdrop of modern life. So here, when you look at these, whatever the lines of the poem that Arnold has been trying to bring, that the way how the failures of the Oxford University scholars, and here a scholar who joined as a musician in the band of wandering gypsies, born in days when wits were fresh and clear, and life ran gaily as the sparkling Thames before the strange disease of modern life, with its sick hurry, its divided aims, its heads overtaxed, its palsied herds was rife, fly hints our contact fear. So for instance, if you look at the COVID-19 pandemic, then it shows that failure of the university research. And here Arnold is a critique of the modern life, and he says that it is a strange disease of modern life because of the whatever ill health or other aspects of modern life shows that the failures. So here Arnold has been trying to say that heads overtaxed, its palsied herds was rife, fly hints over our contact fear, stilly fly plunge deeper in the bowering wood, averse as Dido did with gestures turn from her false friends approach in a head's run turn, wave us as away and keep thy solitude. If devotion to a transcendental vision imposed loneliness even in days when wits were fresh and clear, how much more resolutely must the dedicated individual safeguard himself against the maladies of modern existence? For instance, if you look at traditional versus modernity, during the ashrama vidya, guru shishya parampara, then there was no such kind of whatever the competition, only learning. But now here it is with the competition, and the modern existence is with the maladies. So here Arnold let's confess immortality on the scholar because he escaped from the distractions of the civilized life. He now becomes a mythical figure and lapses more and more into his imaginative life. The reader is now aware of the real situation and the attitude of modern men who fluctuate idly without term or scope, whose vague results never have been fulfilled. So here such people are in despair, and that scholar is free from all issues. So here there is no any kind of structure of is whatever the life, and it is free, and there is no any kind of syllabus like universities. And here the scholar gypsy is making sense of is whatever the life with that kind of freedom. So here he has just one resolve. The elegy ends on a note of despair, imploring the scholar to protect his dream by estranging himself from the modern world. So here the poem is the critique of modern world, and it is nothing but a strange disease. And here the scholar who left the university and joined the wandering band of wandering gypsies, and he is with that kind of freedom and without any kind of barriers of these survival in the modern world. So this poem clarifies the meanings of the quest towards the end of the poem, and the quest is symbolic of the imagination of the artist. What matters is not whether the artist is inspired from above, but whether his perseverance is genuine and uncorrupted by the distractions of the society. So here when you look at the scholar gypsy, and then here you can understand how Matthew Arnold had tried to bring that the embodies this of the hope as well as optimistic, and that the way how the scholar had that kind of touch of the Oxford University, and he left that because of this poverty, and then he wishes to live his life with this kind of whatever the hope and unconventional as well as free from the modern world. So when you look at all these aspects of this scholar gypsy here, Dover Beach and scholar gypsy, both are with this kind of stand that it is making sense of the criticism of our life, and it is interpreting, and it's sustaining, and it's consoling. So when you look at all these, then you can understand how the poet Matthew Arnold had tried to look at all these from a modern and world point of view to criticize the way how modern age is with this kind of identity crisis and competition and failures. So here scholar gypsy gypsy as well as Dover Beach are from this kind of background of Matthew Arnold's observation as well as poet, he had tried to re-establish that kind of human values without any kind of restrictions of modern world. So with this I conclude the poem, this poem, and then we'll see next class that to have the whatever the other unit. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome, thank you. Fine.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.